IGN just posted a brand new 15-minute gameplay video of Anthem featuring an early mission called The Lost Arcanist, as well as 3 of the 4 Javelins in full action. So we've got some nice extra footage of the Interceptor Javelin and especially of the Storm, which is my favorite right now. There's also a lot of combat in here, heaps of enemies and details to look at, so I hope you're all ready for this. A like would be super appreciated, and let's get to it. First things first, the video starts with the Interceptor Javelin right outside of Fort Tarsus, presumably after using the matchmaking system or grouping up with some friends, and here is where we have a nice view of it while spawning, rocking that beautiful default skin but with a black and red color scheme this time around. And we also have the Storm and the Colossus in the background. Unfortunately, the Ranger is missing and the party is incomplete. Nonetheless, it is more than sufficient for this type of content. From the looks of it, all of the 3 Javelins are rocking their default skins, as a matter of fact, except that they have obviously played around with the customization options, and I will add that the high level of customization in this game is on point, and even switching the colors around makes such a huge difference for your character looks. It appears that the party is incomplete, as I've said, but since this is a low level mission that we're talking about, there's no problem, as this content can be easily done even solo. This brings me to the second point, which is of course the mission at hand, and for reference, this is called the Lost Arcanist. It's a mission you get as part of the main story in Anthem. It's a low level one that can be done either solo or with a group of friends, and it can be done somewhere around level 5, maybe even lower, but it involves searching for clues, clearing up series of locations infested with enemy scars, with the objective of finding this Arcanist whose group was attacked and killed. I don't want to spoil too much about the story, so I'm going to leave everything else out, but this is the premise of it. Nonetheless, the mission will take you from the top of the fort, through the jungle, and then in an underground temple. It's pretty cool, but what's important here is that it teaches you the basics of movement, of combat, general gameplay, and how to interact with your teammates. It's pretty lovely, it's very nice. Still, what I like most about this footage is that it shows uninterrupted combat gameplay of the Interceptor especially, as well as the Storm. I will say that I was left impressed with the damage the Interceptor was able to do here, obviously as a result of being over leveled for this area. You might or might not know this, but when you first start things up, you won't actually have access to any of the Javelins by the time you're doing this mission, except for the Ranger Javelin, and whatever you're doing else, it's going to be unlocked probably a little bit later after completing even this mission. I believe level 5 is when you're first starting to unlock your first Javelin, and I believe that would be soon after finishing this one, the Lost Arcanist. But back at the Interceptor, he's able to melt down groups of enemies with his double daggers alone, occasionally needing to use his abilities or the pistol. Compared to the Ranger for this same level, this is a significant difference in damage, at least what I can see from eyeing out the damage numbers and the speed at which the mobs get cleared. So yeah, this is what a glass cannon looks like. There's also some footage of the Storm, and I was looking forward to this because I didn't find proper footage of Storm gameplay. Since the Storm itself uses elemental attacks, he's able to basically run combos around the clock and set primers for his entire team using his ice and fire attacks, as well as lighting, I believe. The main attacks used here, of course, from what I can see, are his Hoarfrost shards, which are those very fast shards he keeps throwing at the enemies. They can also like freeze them eventually and then set up for detonations. And of course, we also have his lightning strike attack and occasionally the ultimate, which looks quite fantastic. All in all, the footage looks great. We also have the Colossus. I'm not going to go too much over the Colossus though, because we kinda already know what he does, what his arsenal is, and he was covered extensively already anyway, but what I see so far is very impressive. I'm really stoked for playing this game, man. It looks freaking awesome. Tell me if you guys are as excited about this as I am. am, because I know I am. But I want to go over the mini bosses that can spawn, as well as other NPCs that you can see in certain waves. Outside of the regular scars that appear to take more than enough damage, I mean a few shots can destroy them with ease, there's also the scars enforcers, and these massive tanky foes with a yellow health bar can take a lot of damage. They have high defenses, they also have a shield, but what I've seen so far is that normal damage is not really that great against them, but if you're using your abilities, you'll be able to melt them in seconds. If you're even using a ultimate on these guys, they're going to basically get one shot regardless of their defenses, at the very least on the normal difficulty that you're going to play in the beginning of the game. I will also want to mention that they can easily have their defenses broken, especially the shield if you're using a ranger. If you're doing a melee attack, especially a jump attack, it's going to pretty much knock it a little bit, have its shield knocked back a little bit, and then you'll be able to do even more damage as its defenses are kinda low. Nonetheless, the party eventually enters the underground stronghold. This is also probably one of the first times you get introduced to these kinds of areas. Unlike the previous open space, this is of course much more packed. It's also filled with many more enemies. The final boss is called the Rust Reaver, and this one appears to be another tanky type of NPC. He seems to have a large defense capability, but of course he still can't tank the combined damage of the entire party for too long, especially if you're using and keeping your ultimates for this guy, and it's definitely satisfying to pull off. Once that is done and once he is killed, the party is pretty much done with the content, but of course it doesn't bring us to the end screen. I was really hoping to see what levels the javelins have in this video. We didn't get to see that, but it's not really a big deal. We're going to get to play this game at the end of the month. That's pretty much it though. That is pretty much for today. There's not much info other than this, but it all looks very exciting. The game looks as good as ever. I'm not seeing any downgrades. It also appears that the mission has been massively flashed out. It looks pretty much smooth as heck. But again, if you enjoyed this video, a like would be super appreciated. Also subscribe to the channel for more Anthem related content, and I will see you guys in the next one. So peace out.